All right, man. Let's get to it. That's another thing I like coming down here. I can spread my wings a little bit. You guys are seasoned, so I don't have to, I don't have to spoon feed you. Alhamdulillah, the teacher is only as good as the student, man. You find some people who thirsty, it just brings everything out of you, man. But Alhamdulillah, Rabbil Alameen. Is this one?
Yes.
الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. So Alhamdulillah, back at Baytul Nasr again, man. Alhamdulillah, thank you guys for inviting me, giving me some of your time this afternoon. Inshallah ta'ala, we're gonna, the topic of our discussion today will be about preparation for Ramadan, how to prepare for Ramadan. But we will be doing a series of talks leading up to Ramadan, inshallah ta'ala. So I'll be back here, Jazakallah khair. I'll be back here every 2 weeks until Ramadan starts, and then possibly during Ramadan it'll be a little bit more frequent. But leading up to Ramadan, I think it was a good idea to kind of get a head start early, to actually start. When she texted me and said, let's do some, preparation on Ramadan, I was like, that's a good move, for a community, we're talking about a little bit over 2 months before Ramadan, and we're already making preparations, to receive the month of Ramadan. I think that's a very smart move as a community. And so today, we'll start with preparing for Ramadan, how to properly prepare. Using the 5 P's of success, proper preparation prevents poor performance. Meaning when you prepare properly, then you don't have to worry about performing poorly. A lot of times people wait until Ramadan, they're right on the cusp of Ramadan, and then they want to start making preparations. And then there's some people who unfortunately, prepare the entire month of Ramadan for Ramadan. It's like the lasting days. You're ready, but the month of Ramadan is just about over. So it's good to get a head start. So my talk this afternoon will be preparing our homes for Ramadan, because our homes is the place where we are going to receive the month of Ramadan, inshallah. So we need to prepare our homes now. So inshallah, we'll talk about that, and then I'll leave some time afterwards for questions and answers, inshallah. Bismillah. All right. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. Many, if not all, of the blessings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, both internally and externally, were designed to facilitate an easy journey through the challenges that we are confronted with during our human experience in this life. The blessings that Allah gave us, the blessing of eyesight, the blessing of the faculties that Allah has given us, all of the different blessings that Allah has given us. It is to help facilitate, an easy journey through this human experience. This is, a dunya, lowly. That's what the word dunya means, to be low. And it's a place of trial and tribulation and challenges, So any blessing that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us has been given to us, number one, to help facilitate, our journey in this life, to make it easier for us. Obviously, a person who can see, his journey through life is a lot easier than a person who can't see. And a person who can hear and understand and has full use of their, intellectual capacity, their journey through life is a lot easier than someone who doesn't. So all of these ni'am, all of these blessings that Allah has given us, has been given to us to facilitate an easy journey for us through this life. But also the blessings that Allah has given us, that God has given us, it has a more intimate purpose, and that is, to facilitate an easy journey to Him. You follow me? To get to Him. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, وَاللَّهُ أَخْرَجَكُم مِّن بُطُونِ أُمَّهَاتِكُمْ لَا تَعْلَمُونَ شَيْئًا وَجَعَلَ لَكُمُ السَّمْعَ وَالْأَبْصَارَ وَالْأَفْئِدَةَ لَعَلَّكُمْ تَشْكُرُونَ. That Allah is the one who brought you forth from the wombs of your mothers knowing absolutely nothing. And then He bestowed upon you sam', hearing, وَأَبْصَار, and sight, وَالْأَفْئِدَةَ, and the heart is usually used in Islam for understanding. because that's where we process. The brain, the mind is for information. The processing system, the CPU, is the heart. That's how we filter, which is why the Prophet ﷺ said what? That in the body there's what? A lump of flesh. That if it is sound, the whole body will be sound. And that includes the information that you are receiving into the body. This is how people go astray. People don't go astray because of misinformation. They go astray because of misunderstanding information. You follow me? Person can receive the same information. We can both sit and receive the same information, but if my heart is diseased and I have an angle, then I'm going to use that information to pursue whatever angle I have. Whereas if a person's heart is pure, is untainted, then they're going to receive that, and the information is going to align with their fitrah, and they're going to stay a course. But if your heart is astray, as Allah says about the hypocrites, fi qulubihim marad, that in their hearts is a disease. You understand? So they were around the Prophet ﷺ, but look at the results. The same information the Sahaba received is the same information the hypocrites that were in their midst, the same information they received. But look at the end result. The Sahaba came closer to Allah and followed the Prophet ﷺ and stayed the path, while the hypocrites, many of them being around the Prophet ﷺ for all those years and still died as hypocrites. So it didn't avail them anything. It didn't benefit them anything. All right. So the blessings, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that He has, brought you forth from the wombs of your mothers knowing nothing. And then He bestowed upon you sight, hearing, and understanding. And at the end of the ayah, He said, لَعَلَّكُمْ تَشْكُرُونَ. So perhaps you may be grateful. You may show your gratitude to me. All right. So getting these faculties, these blessings that Allah has given us, helps to facilitate our journey to Him. And this is why the blessings that are not used in the service of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for the reasons in which they were designed, they become a source of misery and unhappiness for the individual. All right? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, ذَلِكَ بِأَنَّ اللَّهَ لَمْ يَكُنْ مُغَيِّرًا نِعْمَةً أَنْعَمَهَا عَلَى قَوْمٍ حَتَّى يُغَيِّرُوا مَا بِأَنفُسِهِمْ. This is the second ayah that is connected, is another ayah in the Quran that sounds like this. The first ayat is the one that we usually use, where Allah says that Allah will not change the condition of a people until at first they change what is within themselves. And this ayat, Allah says, ذَلِكَ بِأَنَّ اللَّهَ لَمْ يَكُنْ مُغَيِّرًا. That is because Allah will never change the blessing, the good state that He has given a people, حَتَّى يُغَيِّرُوا مَا بِأَنفُسِهِم, until they change what is within themselves, meaning they go from a place of being grateful to ungrateful. Meaning, when you don't value guidance, then Allah turns your guidance into misguidance. And we've seen that in our communities. Like for many years, we've seen people convert to Islam, go to Yemen, go to Egypt, go to different places overseas and study. And that was a ni'mah, that was a blessing from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But then they didn't value, they didn't appreciate the blessing of Allah, and all of that studying and traveling and memorizing and sitting with this sheikh and that sheikh, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because you changed. You changed your gratitude and appreciation and value for those blessings to being to a state of ingratitude and devaluing and a lack of appreciation for those blessings. And so Allah changed your blessing into misery, into a curse. That Allah will never change the good state that He has bestowed upon a people until at first they change what is within themselves. Meaning, you should prove to Allah that you don't value and you don't appreciate His guidance. We're using Islam to manipulate Muslims for money, for women, status. You know what I mean? We've seen this. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, look at the state of those individuals and how Allah changed their state from one of a place of blessing to one of a curse and misery. And Fudayl ibn Iyad, rahimahullah ta'ala, he said a very beautiful statement. He said, عليكم بملازمة الشكر على النعم فقل نعمة زالت عن قوم فعادت إليهم. He said that it is upon you to constantly be in a state of gratitude to Allah for the blessings that He has given you, because it is very rare that Allah strip you of a blessing and then give it back to you. It's very rare. Meaning, once Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala takes that, God takes that blessing from you, He does not return it back to you. So Hasan al-Basri rahimahullah ta'ala, he said, إِذَا أَنْعَمَ اللَّهُ عَلَى قَوْمٍ سَأَلَهُمْ الشُّكْرِ فإذا شكروه كان قادرا على أن يزيدهم وإذا كفروه كان قادرا على أن يبعث نعمته عليهم عذابا. Hassan al-Basri, he said that if Allah bestows a blessing on a group of people, إذا أنعم الله على قوم, if Allah bestows a blessing upon a people, سألهم الشكر, he requests from them to show gratitude. He requests from them to show gratitude. He said, فَإِذَا شَكَرُوهُ, and if they show gratitude for that blessing, كَانَ قَادِرًا عَلَىٰ أَن يَزِيدَهُم, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has the power to increase that blessing because of their gratitude. He said, but if they show ingratitude for that blessing, then Allah is powerful enough to turn that blessing into a curse. So one of the greatest blessings, now that we've kind of laid the groundwork from that, follow me as we continue along. If you think about the greatest blessing that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, one of the greatest blessings that Allah, tangible, material blessings that Allah has given us are our homes. Your house is a blessing, it's a ni'mah. You just ride out and you see people, homeless. That if you ever been homeless, I've been homeless in my life. 16, 17 years old. You sleeping at friend's house, sleeping on this guy's couch, and it happens. It happens. So some of us have had that experience. Some of us, unfortunately, what makes it difficult for them to understand, things in the Quran is that they haven't had enough life experiences. So when Allah speaks about something, it's hard for you to process if you've never been down that road. So, for example, when Allah says that we will surely test you with something of fear and hunger, if you've never been in fear in your life, you ever been on the run? You ever had somebody chasing you? You ever had somebody looking for you? Whether it's the police, whether it's people that maybe you violated on the streets, maybe what I mean. Like, Biggie spelled it out clear in the song. What's beef? Like your heart beat like Sasquatch feet, thundering, shaking the concrete. Like, you ever been in that type of fear where somebody is looking for you? Like, so when Allah says that we will test you with something of fear, you know what that feels like. That ayat, it hits you a little different than it hits somebody else who have never had that type of experience, have never been there before. Or Allah says, وَلَنَبْلُوَنَّهُمْ بِشَيْءٍ مِنَ الْخَوْفِ وَالْجُوعِ, and we will test you with something of fear and hunger. You've ever been homeless? You've ever been hungry? You've ever had that experience? You know firsthand what that feels like. So when you read those ayahs and your experience with that is a lot different than somebody who's never had that experience. For them, it's just an ayah, Allah saying it, and you can regurgitate the ayah from a place of privilege because that was never your experience. You never understood what that means. But for people who have had those experiences, I mean, the Sahaba were being boycotted for a period of 3 years in a valley where Quraysh wouldn't do business with them, wouldn't sell them food. Anas, he said that the Sahaba, their poop used to look like cow poop, meaning grass, because that's what they had to survive off of. I mean, like, what that feels like. So when Allah reveals these ayats, it hits you a little different than it hits other people because you've had a personal experience. But one of the greatest blessings that Allah has given us are our homes, the homes in which we reside. Right now, everyone in here, if you have a home, whether you're renting or whether you are, owner, you have a place that you have keys to, that you can go in and stick your key in the door, walk in. The temperature of the home is what you set it on. You know what I mean? Like, you can go into your kitchen, your refrigerator, and what you left in your refrigerator is there, provided you don't have teenage children who eat up everything in your house. you know, and you can go upstairs or downstairs, wherever your bed is, and you can kind of just jump in. It's your bed. I used to, when I was working at the halfway house, I used to, guys used to always puff their chests out talking about, when I get out my house, and I'm just like, if the house ain't in your name, you homeless, man. Stop talking about your house. It's your girl house. It's your baby mother house. It's not your house. You don't got keys and it's not in your name. It's not your house. At any given moment, she could say, I don't want to deal with you no more. Pack your stuff and you're gone. And we've seen it. But to have a place to call home, to know at the end of your day when you get off work, you have a home to go to, that's a blessing. And the homes are a blessing for a number of reasons. These are, places of refuge for us, from a world that has the potential to be very cruel and cold. You know, sometimes you ever be at work or you out and about and you're like, I just want to go home, man. I just want to go home, man. You know what I mean? You ever been in trouble with the law and cops is questioning you, take you into the station, and you just, I want to go home. Am I free to go? Can I go? You just want to go home. You ever been released from jail and the first thing you want to do is just go home? I want to go home. Guys like, yo, let's go shopping. Let's go here. Nah, man, take me home. I want to go home. I don't want to go anywhere else. I want to go home. All right, because it's a place of refuge, place of asylum from a world that has, you know what I mean? Like when you think about it, when you walk into your house and you close the door, the only thing that is standing between you and the world is that one door. That's the only thing that is between you and the rest of the world. That is your place of zen, your place of, refuge from a world that has the potential to be very cold and very cruel. And our homes, they represent places of comfort and security. When you walk into your house and you lock your door, the expectation is that I'm safe, you know, unless you're in an abusive relationship, then the war starts all over again. Right? The dysfunction starts all over again. You're at work, you argue with your coworker, your boss, and you get home and now you're arguing with your spouse. The war just starts all over again. And I pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bring peace, to our homes. Nobody, I seen a meme that no man wants to work or woman wants to work 40 hours and then come home and argue, 40 hours a week, and then you gonna come home and argue. I'm sorry. I don't have the energy, you know. But these homes, they represent spaces of comfort and security, a fortress, a protection, mentally, physically, as well as spiritually. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, وَاللَّهُ جَعَلَ لَكُم مِّن بُيُوتِكُمْ سَكَنًا وَجَعَلَ مِن جُلُودِ الْأَنْعَامِ بُيُوتًا تستخفونها يوم ظعنكم ويوم إقامتكم. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran that Allah is the one who has made for you homes, your buyut, your homes, sekanan, a place for you to reside. But the word sekan is also the root word of sakina, tranquility. Second is you can hear the root word, the sin, the kaf, and the noon, sekina. That's where the word sakina comes from. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Wallahu ja'ala lakum min buyutikum sakinan. Allah has made for you from your homes or from some of your homes a place of peace and security. All right. However, these homes, much like any other blessing that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us, they come with a responsibility. If you have a home, you have a financial responsibility to your home. You also have a physical responsibility to your home, and you also have a spiritual responsibility to your home. You have an emotional responsibility to your home. You know what I mean? To set the temperature in the home emotionally and spiritually, right? So we have responsibilities, and that is that we honor our homes and we convert them into sanctuaries, in spiritually conducive environments that produce people that will contribute to the moral fabric of the largest society that we live in. That is the responsibility that we have with our homes. That the people that are being raised in our homes right now, whether our spouses, our children that are being raised in those homes, the responsibility is to make sure that that home is spiritually, morally, and spiritually conducive enough to produce productive citizens of society that will actually contribute to the moral and spiritual fabric of the society. But you think about, for example, in environments, toxic environments where Muslim youth who are being raised in homes that are dysfunctional, and they are the majority of the people that are committing crimes. And it's like, what type of household did you come from? What type of home was you raised in that your name is Abdullah, your name is Abdurrahman, and you out putting guns in people's faces? You know what I mean? You robbing people. What? Because that speaks, and that's not to say that every home, every Muslim home is supposed to produce children that are just righteous and ideally Muslim. But for the most part, they should. Some impact whatsoever. Otherwise, then Islam is just for us. It's no benefit for the people that are in the home. So we have a responsibility to make sure that we convert our homes into sanctuaries and spiritually conducive environments that produce people who will contribute to the moral fabric of the larger society by virtue of the cultivation and the nurturing that they were influenced by in the homes. Allah says in the Quran, showing us that the fruit doesn't fall too far from the tree. Allah says, وَالْبَلَدُ الطَّيِّبُ يَخْرُجُ نَبَاتُهُ بِإِذْنِ رَبِّي وَالَّذِي خَبُثَ لَا يَخْرُجُ إِلَّا نَكِدًا. That the balad al-tayyib, the land that is good, the fertile soil, what does it produce? Does it produce fruit that is spoiled? What is fertile ground, fertile soil? What does it produce? 9 times out of 10, it's going to be healthy fruit. That's just the nature of how things go. If the soil is our homes. If the soil is pure, then the fruit that is going to be produced from that soil is going to be a reflection of the soil. He said, وَالْبَلَدُ الطَّيِّبُ يَخْرُجُ نَبَاتُهُ بِإِذْنِ رَبِّي. And the fertile soil, the land that is good, it produces its fruits and vegetables by the permission of its Lord. وَالَّذِي خَبُثَ. And khabutha comes from the word khabith, evil, nasty, trifling. وَالَّذِي خَبُثَ لَا يَخْرُجُ إِلَّا نَكِدًا. And the land that is infertile, the land that is spoiled, that is unauthentic, is going to produce scarcely, meaning good will come from it, but it'll be few and far in between. It's not going to be like, because there are homes in which homes are dysfunctional, but the people come out of them homes turn out to be good people. Look at many of us. I came from a dysfunctional home. Alhamdulillah, I'm not the best, but I'm not the worst either. Yeah. So these homes that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has blessed us with, they have rights. And in order for us to prepare our homes to welcome and honor the guest of Ramadan, Ramadan is a guest. It comes around once a year. And it comes and it goes. It stays with us for a period of 29 to 30 days and then it leaves. That's a guest. All right. And in order for us to, prepare our homes to welcome and honor the guest of Ramadan, it is imperative that we give our homes their rights. The Prophet ﷺ said, "Man kana yu'min billahi wal yawmil akhir falyukrim dayfahu." Now, whoever believes in Allah on the last day, then let him honor his guest. So how do we honor the month of Ramadan, this guest that's only going to be with us for 29 to 30 days? How do we honor this beloved guest? There are many homes that in the past were not prepared to receive Ramadan and allowed the month to go by and did not absorb the many blessings that Ramadan contains. And this is why the Prophet ﷺ in the hadith I'm going to get to. But I just want to ask you guys, just so we're clear, what do I mean when I say that there are homes that were not prepared to receive Ramadan? What does that look like? What does a home look like that Ramadan came around and it wasn't ready to receive the month of Ramadan, and therefore it squandered the blessing that the month of Ramadan brought with it?
No spirit of Ramadan in the home of the individual at all. No reading, no mentioning of Ramadan, nothing at all. That's being mentioned in the home. Uh, the parents not even conscious that it is Ramadan.
There you go. That's exactly what I was going. I remember I was the imam at the masjid in Philadelphia, and I remember we were like maybe 4 days into the month of Ramadan, and I'm sitting in my office. It's in the afternoon, and I got a phone call. I pick up the phone. Assalamu alaikum wa alaikum salam. Oh, I had a question. Okay, sure. What's your question? Did Ramadan start yet? And we're already 4 days into the month of Ramadan. It's the fourth day fasting, and you're asking me, did the month of Ramadan start yet? That's what I mean. Like, you didn't even know that Ramadan had already even started. Like, there are many Muslims right now that don't even know that Ramadan is up like 2 months in a week or so. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I think it's like 73, 74 days, before Ramadan. Like, they'll have no clue the month that we're in, and whether or not this is, a time that we should even be focused on Ramadan. They have no clue, completely detached. And so when Ramadan comes upon them, it's like they're scrambling, trying to, Ramadan is here. Let's, and you know, this is why the Prophet ﷺ, one day he was walking up the minbar and he said, Ameen, 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 as he's walking up the 3 steps of the minbar. And with each and every step that he took, he said, Ameen, Ameen, Ameen. So the Sahaba observing him, they heard him say this and they asked him, Ya Rasulullah, innaka sa'at al-minbar, فقلت Ameen, Ameen, Ameen. O Messenger of Allah, you ascended the minbar and we heard you say Ameen, Ameen, Ameen. What did you mean by that? And the Prophet ﷺ said, Inna Jibreel atani. He said, as I'm mounting the minbar, Jibreel came to me. Jibreel came to me at that moment. And he said to me, فَقَالَ لِي مَنْ أَدْرَكَ رَمَضَانَ فَلَمْ يُغْفَرْ لَهُ فَدَخَلَ النَّارِ فَأَبْعَدَهُ اللَّهُ قُلْ آمِينَ. He said, whoever, Jibreel, this is Jibreel saying this to the Prophet ﷺ. He said, Jibreel came to me as I was ascending the minbar, and he said to me that whoever meets the month of Ramadan, adraka Ramadan, that he is alive during the time of Ramadan, فَلَمْ يُغْفَرْ لَهُ, and he still did not earn the forgiveness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, فَأَبْعَدَهُ اللَّهُ, then may Allah do away with him, there's no good in him, say Ameen. And the Prophet ﷺ said Ameen. So what the Sahaba witnessed was the tail part of a conversation. The tail part of a conversation. All they heard was Ameen. Meanwhile, there was an entire conversation that happened before he said Ameen that they were not even privy to. This is from the world of the unseen, conversations that happen in the unseen that we don't even know about. All we see is the end result, right? And this is what makes the Prophet ﷺ such a beautiful leader, because there were conversations like, I'll give you another example. When the Prophet ﷺ emerged and told the Sahaba that prayer was 5 times a day, the Sahaba didn't realize that there was an entire conversation between the Prophet ﷺ and God and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala before he relayed that. A whole conversation. First, it started off as 50. The Prophet's descending, he meets Musa, whole different, these are conversations from the Sama, conversations from the heavens, conversations from the world of the unseen that we have absolutely no clue about that was happening. All we got was the tail end of the conversation. Salat is 5 times a day. Meanwhile, there was an entire conversation that went on before that information was conveyed to us. Right? So, Jibreel said to the Prophet ﷺ, anyone who meets Ramadan and still does not earn the forgiveness of Allah, فَأَبْعَدَهُ اللَّهُ, then may Allah do away with him. There's no good in the individual. لَا خَيْرَ لَهُ, there's no good in the person. Now, a person can sit back and say, well, why would Jibreel say that? Why? Because in the month of Ramadan, if you manage to squander the opportunity to earn Allah's forgiveness in Ramadan, you ain't going to do it no other time. Because Ramadan is the easiest time to earn the forgiveness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. All of the gates of the hellfire are closed. All of the gates of Jannah are open. Most of the shayateen are chained up. It's making it very easy for us. And if you're not going to do it in Ramadan, then that means there's no khair in you. There's no good in you. You ain't going to do it no other time. So for people who say, well, when Ramadan is over, I see people getting religious. This is how they justify. Oh, people get religious during Ramadan. You got to be religious. I'm going to wait until Ramadan is over. No, you're not. Because if you're not going to do it in Ramadan, you're not going to do it no other time. Stop psyching yourself out. Stop psyching yourself out. And we use these excuses to justify our laziness. Just own it. You know what I mean? Like, you're just lazy. You're lazy. But don't say, oh, I'm going to wait until Ramadan is over because I see everybody getting religious during Ramadan, and I'm going to wait until Ramadan is over and I'm going to turn up. You're not going to turn, you're not going to turn anything up. Knock it off, man. Knock it off, man. Like, if you're not going to do it in Ramadan, you're not going to do it at any time, because this is the easiest time to do it. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is freeing people from the hellfire every single day in the month of Ramadan. The deeds are multiplied many times over. If you're not going to do it now, you're never going to do it. And there's no good in you. And Jibreel told the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, "Kul ameen, say ameen." And the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Ameen." So that was the tail end of the conversation that the Sahaba heard. And and the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he mentioned in another hadith, um, he said, "Woman hurimaha, woman hurima khayraha faqad hurim." That whoever is deprived of the good that is in Ramadan because of his or her own laziness, then they are deprived of all good. Because everything that you need for your survival to continue on in your journey is in the month of Ramadan. Ramadan is like a pit stop where we fuel up, right? We are on a journey. We are on a journey to God. As Fudayl ibn Iyad stopped the old man and he said to the old man, "How old are you? Kam ata alayka min al-umr?" How old are you? And the man said, I'm 16. I'm 60 years old. And so Fudayl said to the guy, or was it Hassan al-Basri? He said, فَمُنْذُ سِتِّينَ سَنَةً فَأَنْتَ تَسِيرُ إِلَى اللَّهِ يُوشِكُ أَنْ تَبْلُغ. He said, so for the past 60 years, you have been on a journey to God. Perhaps you're almost at your destination. Why? Because the Prophet ﷺ said the average age of my ummah is between 60 and 70. وَقَلِيلٌ مَنْ يُجَاوِزُ ذَلِكَ. And only a few people go beyond 70. A few. Only even he didn't make it beyond 70. He died at 63. And I give you a whole slew of scholars who died before 63. Bukhari, Muslim, Tirmidhi, you name it. They all died before 63. Abu Bakr died at 63. I mean, like, I give you a whole slew. And when he said to him, for the past 60 years, you have been on a journey to God. Perhaps you have just about reached your destination. And so the point that I'm making is that our time is very limited. And the period that we are on a journey to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is like equivalent to us being on a highway, on a journey. And sometimes you have to stop at the pit stop and refuel. The Prophet ﷺ said, ask Allah, yujaddidu imanakum, to renew your faith, because faith withers away like a cloth, like a garment, like the stitches on a garment. You leave a shirt, a t-shirt or something just laying in a box somewhere, and you come back after a year, 2 years, the thread, the fabric is not as strong, it's not as tightly woven as it was when you first purchased it. Our iman, our faith withers away the same exact way, and ask Allah to renew your faith. And so Ramadan comes around giving us an opportunity to renew our iman, to replenish what has been taken away from us through sin, through ghafla, through heedlessness, through distractions, and all of the different obstacles that come to us in our lives that distract us along our journey. And so a person who doesn't take advantage of the month of Ramadan is like a dude that's on E, right? You driving a car, you on E. The yellow light already went on, right? You on E. And you ride right past the rest stop. Anybody ever done that? I've done that. I can make it to the next one. And then the car's cut off on you, right? Wow. You're like a guy that's on E, right? You going right past I actually almost just did that getting here. Oh, I'm on E. This is like the last rest stop. It was like the rest stop was like maybe 10 miles, and I'm on E, and I'm like, man, there's no way. I'm not doing this, man. I got my wife, my kids in the car. I'm not doing that, man. That actually happened to me in Medina, in Saudi Arabia. Wallah al-Azim. I left Mecca. I'm driving back to Medina. And if you know anything about the highways on Saudi Arabia, the rest stops are like 20 miles a piece. It's not like every 5, 6, 7 miles there's a rest stop. Like, you got to drive for miles before you see another rest stop. And I'm on E, and I ride right past the rest stop. And I'm like, why did you do that, man? Just young and dumb, man. And my wife is in the back seat, sleep. And I'm on E, and wallah ladhim, it was a miracle that I made it. I kid you not. I'm making dua the whole, because if you get caught, there is no AAA in Saudi Arabia. You get caught on the highway, and like, you might be the only car on the highway. If it's not like a time where people are actually on the highway, you might be the only car. There's no other cars, and if you run out of gas, and it's like 107 degrees, you know what I'm saying? Huh? What make you not want to stop? I was probably in a rush, just trying to get up to Medina because that hike is pretty long. You know what I mean? It's like driving from here to probably about North Carolina, from Mecca to Medina. It's about a 6-hour drive. North Carolina, South Carolina. It's a hike. It's about six. I could get there, not doing the speed limit. I could get there about 4.5 hours, but it's about a 6-hour drive. And I passed the gas station, and I'm like, it wasn't actually on E. It's like right above the E, and I, you know, you don't really realize how fast the needle moves when you close to E. And so I'm like, I'll catch the next rest stop, and I'm like going for like 20 minutes. I'm like, where in the world is this rest stop? I'm like, oh Allah, please do not let this car cut off on me, man. I turned the air conditioner off, right? Because you burning the air conditioner, we think that you burning the gas too. So I turned the air conditioner off. My son is in the back sweating. I'm like, it's 107 degrees outside, and I'm like begging Allah, oh Allah, please don't let this car cut off on me on this highway. And sure enough, I seen, and wallahi, it was a miracle from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There's no way in the world that a normal car, should be on E for about 30 minutes. No way. That was a blessing. And so when Allah says, فَأَمَّا بِنِعْمَةِ رَبِّكَ فَحَدِّثْ, I'm telling you about it now. It was a blessing from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But a person who allows the month of Ramadan to go by and doesn't take advantage of it is equivalent to a person that's on E. By the time Ramadan comes around, most of us spiritually, we close to E. The needle is not on full. Trust me, for most of us, including myself, the needle is not on full. You might be a little past the halfway mark going towards E. And most of the time when Ramadan comes in, we are grateful because it saved us. We were on the brink of just kind of giving up a little bit and letting ourselves go. And we have already started to let go on some things. And then Ramadan comes around and that faith is replenished and we're back in that mode. We're reading Quran again. We're making dhikr. And throughout the year, we kind of let up on things. I mean, let me give you the blueprint, how that goes. So we start off getting to the masjid, especially for men. We start off getting to the masjid for salat. Then we start praying at home, right? Then we start praying at home, and we're reciting the same surahs. So the salat becomes mundane. We're just going through the motions, and we're not making dhikr after the salat anymore, right? You're not making your dhikr after the salat. You hardly read the Quran anymore. You don't take time out of your life to, just kind of ponder and reflect, and we slowly start slipping. We start slipping. We let up on things. It doesn't necessarily mean that you're engaging in things that are haram, but that opens the door to accepting things that are haram because your faith is not fortified. So you start to let up on some things. And that is in the moment that shaitan catches you. Shaitan likes to strike when you're vulnerable. And your highest states of vulnerability is when you go through calamities, trials, tribulations, adversities. And if you don't have the fortitude, the spiritual fortitude to keep you within a certain parameter, you'll let those walls down, and here comes the whispers of shaitan. And you'll find yourself engaging in things that are haram, and you're saying to yourself, I know this is haram. I know I need to stop. I can't wait till Ramadan come around. I'm going to fix all of this, until that stuff just starts to pile up on you. And then Ramadan comes in, and you working, you trying to rectify too much. It's too much on your plate. So when Ramadan comes in, we need it, man. It's that replenishment, that spiritual replenishment that we need. So for a person to allow the whole month of Ramadan to go by and not take advantage of it, it's like a guy who's on E and you ride right past the gas station, believing that you can make it to the next one on the little bit of gas that you got. Self-delusion. So we're going to talk about some of the rights of the home that need to be in place in order for us to make the best of the Ramadan that is coming. If we never got it right before, we have an opportunity to get it right now. I'm giving you some practical stuff that we can start implementing right now to start getting our houses in order to receive Ramadan. The first thing is to honor our home, to honor the guest of Ramadan is by not allowing Ramadan to come into our homes while there are unwanted guests in our homes. Pay attention. And the unwanted guests, sometimes they contribute to the dysfunction in our homes or the destruction of our homes. And so while Ramadan is actually in the home, we're not actually benefiting from it because we have some unwanted guests in our home that have created a toxic and dysfunctional environment so that we can't even benefit from the month of Ramadan. These unwanted guests, they contradict the energy, the spirit of Ramadan. And, therefore we have to be spiritually conscious of the negative and sometimes demonic energy that surrounds us, which has a tendency to sully our blessings. The Prophet ﷺ, listen to what he said on the authority of Jabir ibn Abdullah radiallahu anhu. The Prophet ﷺ said, إذا دخل الرجل بيته ذكر الله عند دخوله وعند طعامه قال الشيطان لا مبيت ولا عشاء وإذا دخل فلم يذكر الله عند دخوله قال الشيطان أدركتم المبيت وإذا لم يذكر الله عند طعامه قال أدركتم المبيت والعشاء رواه Muslim. Hadith is collected in Sahih Muslim. What is the first right of the home? Not to bring unwanted guests in your home, because sometimes those unwanted guests, they don't want to leave and they stay until Ramadan comes around. And then they create an energy in the home that deprives you of benefiting from Ramadan. I'll give you an example. You ever been all good with your spouse right up until Ramadan comes, and then you start arguing and fighting? Yeah, it kicks in. That negative, demonic energy has been there, dormant, waiting for the right opportunity. Squatting, waiting for the right opportunity. The Prophet ﷺ said, إِذَا دَخَلَ الرَّجُلْ بَيْتَهُ. If a man, we're talking about the rights of the home, how to prepare our home for Ramadan. He said, if a man enters into his home, فَذَكَرَ اللَّهَ عِنْدَ دُخُولِهِ, and he remembers Allah at the entrance, upon entry into his home. He says, Bismillah. Bismillah, Bismillah kharajna wa Bismillah walajna wa Bismillah kharajna wa ala rabbina tawakkalna. Whatever dua you want to make when you enter into your home, but you remember Allah upon entering your home. And he remembers Allah at the time before he eats. Bismillah before he eats. The shaitan says, La mubit wa la asha. You have nowhere to sleep tonight and you have nothing to eat tonight. Keeping the unwanted guests out of your home. He said, but if he enters into his home, he enters into his home, but he does not remember the name of Allah upon entering his home. Shaitan says, you got some place to sleep tonight. He said, and then he doesn't remember the name of Allah while eating his food. Shaitan says, you have found a place to eat and sleep. So now you got unwanted guests in your home. Those unwanted guests don't leave. It's not a coincidence that right up until the first week before Ramadan or whatever, you start getting into arguments with people. You start creating toxic environments and, energy. Be mindful of the energy. So being unaware, unconscious of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala during this time allows demonic energy to enter into your home. And sometimes we are not aware of the negative energy that surrounds us. We work in environments and we surround ourselves by people who breathe negative energy. You ever work around someone who's just toxic, negative, everything about them? The energy, just being around them, makes you uncomfortable. But you got to work in close proximity with this person. Do you think that person's jinn is not communicating with your jinn to create havoc and create dysfunction in your life? Absolutely. That's how they work. That's how they work. Which is why when Abu Bakr started arguing back with the man, what did the Prophet do? Got up and walked away. And when Abu Bakr chased him down and said, why did you get up and walk away when I responded back to the guy? What did the Prophet say? I don't sit in the same spaces with devils. I don't sit in the same space with the shayateen. Unfortunately, we got to work around shayateen. So you got to detox yourself before you bring that energy into your home. Because sometimes we bring that energy with us right into our homes. Right? You ever, and I'm sure ourselves, our spouses can attest, sometimes we bring some real negative energy into the home. And you got to tell the person, though, wherever you just bought that negative, take that joint out, take it out. We good in here. You know? We good up in here. Don't bring that negative energy in here, man. Take that stuff somewhere else, man. And it's not a coincidence that right up until the very week before Ramadan starts, you'll start to see that negative energy manifest. It becomes more intensified because the shayateen know that they're about to be chained up. So they got to create as much havoc as possible, havoc that will stick with you throughout Ramadan. You ever get into an argument with somebody or get into almost a fight with somebody right before Ramadan, and then the first week or two during Ramadan, you still processing, trying to get that joint out of your system, hoping that the last 10 days of Ramadan, you'll be over it and you can enjoy at least the last 10 days of Ramadan. That wasn't a coincidence. That was real. That was planned. The shayateen know they're going to be chained up. So they have to create as much havoc, drama, toxicity in your life as they possibly can before they are chained up. Because the shayateen that are chained up, it's not all of them. The Prophet ﷺ said, Maraddat shayateen. Maraddat shayateen are the shayateen that have the most intense animosity and hatred for the children of Adam. These are the ones that are chained up. Not all of them. Because not all of the shayateen, the devils, are effective and influential. Some of them we can just ward off with A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Some of them we can just ward off with spitting to the left. Some of them we can just ward off with by ignoring their whispers, by remembering Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But then there are those that have the most intensified levels of hatred and animosity for the children of Adam, and they don't let up. They don't stop. This is the one who, when you remember the conversation between Shaitan and the Shayateen, and Shaitan asked him, what did you do today? What did he say? What did he say? He said, I did not leave the man until I got him to divorce his wife. Understand? I did not leave him, meaning he was not the type of jinn or the demonic energy that can just be chased away. They have the most intense level of hatred and animosity for the children of Adam. And you can't just chase them away. They stay on top of you. These are, when people start using dabbling in drugs. These are the shayateen that are on you, on top of you until you start using again. They won't let up. These are the ones that are chained up during Ramadan. Not all of them. There's some who their influence is not that strong. But keep in mind, you make the connections. Shaitan said, what did you do today? He said, I did not leave the man until I got him to divorce his wife, meaning I kept coming back. My whispers were repetitive over and over and over until I finally got him to do what I wanted him to do. So be aware of the demonic energy that we welcome into our homes. And this also applies to human devils who enter our homes, our spaces, and disrupt the cohesion and the harmony in the home. And this is why the Prophet ﷺ said, لا يحل للمرأة أن تسوم وزوجها شاهد إلا بإذنه ولا تأذن في بيته إلا بإذنه. This is why one of the rights of the husband, the magnificent rights of the husband over his wife, is that she does not let anyone into his home without his permission. Why? Not because he's the ruler or this patriarch that taking advantage of his wife and throwing his patriarchy around. No, it's because the man is the leader of the home, the spiritual leader of the home, or should be anyway, and he is the one that should be mindful of the type of energy that comes in and out of his home. So if a woman allows someone to come into her home without the husband's permission, perhaps the wife is allowing the enemy into the home while not even realizing it. You understand? Perhaps the woman is allowing the energy to come into the home without the husband's permission. The husband is the one that's supposed to be the spiritual leader of the home. And so a wife says, hey, I'm inviting so and so. And he's like, nah, don't let that woman in my house. Nothing against her. If you want to go out to lunch with her, cool. Don't let that woman in my house. Don't let her in my house. There's times when my wife has invited a particular sister over my home, and I had to tell my wife, "Oh, you have to ask her to leave. I don't like her energy." And this particular sister was engaging in a particular behavior online that might have constituted shirk. And although you guys are friends, that's cool. Don't let her in my home. We work very diligently to make sure that the spiritual temperature of our home is set at a pace where it produces good for us. You understand? And when you get your home like that, you don't want that energy to be disrupted, man. Don't ask the sister to leave. You guys can go to the mall. Y'all can go eat. You can go do whatever. I don't want her in the house. Period. I don't like her energy. And we have kids. That woman bring a devil into my home and she leave and the devil stay. And now I gotta, you know what I'm saying? Like, this stuff is real. This is not a joke, man. This is not a joke. SubhanAllah, me and my wife were just having this conversation on the way here about how Muslims, how people downplay the spiritual world. It's almost like it's spooky and you talking about weird stuff. And it's like, nah, this stuff is real. It's real. This is real. This is real talk. This is not a joke, man. And this is because he is responsible for his home. When Abu Sufyan came to Medina, you remember, to try to extend the peace treaty of Hudaybiyah, he stopped to visit his daughter Ramla, Habiba. And Habiba, who was now married to the Prophet ﷺ, when Abu Sufyan went to go sit down in the chair of the Prophet ﷺ, she didn't let him sit. Nah, you can't sit there. That's my husband's spot. You are a man who has been attacking my husband. You are my father, but you have been attacking my husband since he began his mission. You are not allowed to sit there. She's regulating the home. Now you can't sit there. And Abu Sufyan, uh, he said, uh, he said to Habiba in response to her, he said, "Araghibti bihad al-firash anni?" He said, "Are you putting this chair, this sitting area, if you giving that precedence over me? You love that area more than you love me?" And Habiba said, "Bal huwa firash Rasulillahi sallallahu alaihi wasallam wa anta mri'in najis mushrik." She said, that is the sitting place of the messenger of, listen to her language. She said, that is the sitting place of the messenger of Allah. I'm getting chills just saying it. That is the sitting place of the messenger of Allah, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And you are a man that is najis. You are spiritually impure. Mushrik, and you are an idolater. Not appropriate for you to sit here. You can come visit me, but you're not sitting here sitting. I'm regulating my home, man. Don't bring that energy up in here. No. You understand? That's regulating the home. And Abu Sufyan got mad and got angry at her, and he said, "Qad asabaki ba'di shar." He said that after you left my home, man, something evil has happened to you. And she said, "Qala la wallahi bal khair hadani Allahu ila al-Islam." She said, "No, nothing but good has happened to me since I left your home. I converted to Islam. Allah has guided me to Islam." You know. So be mindful of the energy that you bring in your home. So from this day forward, make sure that before you enter into your home, Bismillah, as I enter into my home, I'm mindful of the type of demons that I might be bringing with me into my home. Got to be conscious of that, man. All right. Number two, is that you enter your home in peace, leaving all of the negative energy where it came from. And as I said, we don't realize sometimes the negative energy that we bring into our home. Negative energy attracts the shayateen. So if you've, acquired some negative energy from somewhere and then you bringing that into your home, it attracts other shayateen. And we know the hadith of, Abu Bakr and the guy, you know, when Abu Bakr asked the Prophet ﷺ, why did you sit there the first time? He said, because when you were silent, Allah has sent an angel to defend you. Meaning, when you didn't meet that negative energy with negative energy, there was something positive that was happening in the world of the unseen. But the moment you met his negative energy with negative energy, the angel left and the shaitan came. Why does shaitan come? Because they feed off of negative energy. They feed off of it. Wherever it is, they flock to it. Which is why you got a dead situations in its infancy. You start seeing a situation, you got to dead that joint before it start to attract all, because the shayateen are waiting around looking for scandal, looking for dysfunction, looking for toxicity, looking for something to get into. And then when they find that, oh, the energy is over here, is pulsating, they rush right to that spot and try to make the situation worse. They intensify it worse than what it is, until it eventually ends up in murder, killing, some horrible situation, like the situation of the the ascetic, the scholar from Beni Israel, who Shaitan wanted him so bad, and what did he do? He put him in a space with the woman, and then what did he do? He started beautifying the woman to him, beautifying the woman to him, beautifying every day he came in to try to get rid of the Shaitan. The shaitan is beautifying her face to him. So he's becoming more and more attracted to her, right? Overestimating himself, underestimating his enemy. Until eventually he does the unthinkable. He sleeps with her. Not only does he sleep with her, he gets her pregnant. Not only does he get her pregnant, Shaitan comes back to him and says, I can tell you how to get rid of this entire situation. Just kill her. What does he do? Murders her, buries her and the baby. This is how they get you to, they escalate the situation until you do the unimaginable, the unthinkable. Be mindful, man. Be mindful. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, يَا أَيُّهَا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا لَا تَدْخُلُوا بُيُوتًا غَيْرَ بُيُوتِكُمْ حَتَّى تَسْتَأْنِسُوا وَتُسَلِّمُوا عَلَى أَهْلِهَا ذَلِكُمْ خَيْرٌ لَكُمْ لَعَلَّكُمْ تَذَكَّرُونَ. Allah says, O you who believe, do not enter homes other than the homes of your own until you ask permission and you give the greeting of salam upon entering. You enter in peace. When we enter our homes, we say Bismillah, and we enter into our homes, Assalamu alaikum, to our spouses, to the occupants of the home. We enter in peace. You might not have left in peace. Maybe you had an argument, you guys left, but when you enter in peace. Waving the white flag, extending the olive branch, whatever. I left angry, but I return in peace. What did Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu say to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam when him and Aisha got into an argument, right? Aisha and the Prophet, Abu Bakr walked by, heard Aisha raising her voice at the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Abu Bakr asked permission to enter. The Prophet gave him permission, and Abu Bakr immediately went to go grab Aisha. The Prophet jumped in between. Whoa, we arguing, but that's still my wife. That's still my boo. I can't let you do that. You know what I mean? I can't let you do that. And Abu Bakr's shocked, like, you raising your voice at the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, daughter of mine. And after some time went by, in the same hadith, Abu Bakr said, I walked by and I heard them laughing and joking. And he said, what? He said, give me permission to enter while you guys are in peace, just as you gave me permission to enter while you are at war. You understand? So we might leave our homes in a disgruntled state, angry, upset, but when we enter with peace. Assalamu alaikum. We enter with peace and we bring positive energy. So from this day forward, as we enter into our homes, we enter, number one, remembering the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Number two, giving the greeting of peace and salam upon those who are in the home. Not only this, but this is also an etiquette from our religion. And we have to understand that sometimes familiarity causes us to forget. We come in, go out, we see the same people every day, and sometimes it causes us to be neglectful of giving the greeting of salam. And so we might say, hey, babe, what's up, boo? How you doing? Assalamu alaikum. But the salam is not the first thing that comes out of our mouths, because the familiarity sometimes causes us to neglect that. But we have to keep in mind that the salam is a dua. This is a dua. Assalamu alaikum is, we're asking Allah to bestow peace upon you. That's a dua that we're asking. So, to be mindful of that. And, if this is the case with, the homes of others, that we should not enter into other people's homes unless we ask permission and then we give the greeting of salam. If this is the case when we enter into other people's homes, then what about our own homes? When the Prophet ﷺ saw Jibreel for the first time, where did he run home to? He ran home to Khadija. There's tons of places that the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam could have ran, but he ran home to the place where he received the most peace.
No.
You understand? There's no coincidence. He could have ran to Abu Bakr. He could have ran to anybody. He ran home to Khadija, the one place where he got the most peace. That's where you want to find out where a man is getting his peace. Find out where he spends his time. Hello. Let's start that. You want to find where the man is receiving the most of his peace? Look at where he spends most of his time. If he at the sports bar watching, that's where his peace is at. You can't get mad. You know what I mean? Like, you just got to change the energy. Be wiser. Be smarter. You can't get your husband to stay home. There's a reason behind that. There's a reason why a married man is always out. You understand? Right or wrong? Sisters, I'm giving you some good stuff here. There's a reason why a married man does not want to stay home. Because the home is not a place of peace for him. You know, and you got to be mindful, especially as women, you have to be mindful. Many times the women are home a lot more than the men are. You know what I mean? And it's normal for you to nag about this and, complain about that. You're constantly complaining to the kids and clean this up and clean that up. And, it becomes habitual. And then when the man comes home, it's like he's an extension of what the kids are getting. And you got to be mindful that, you don't want to create that type of environment. But the Prophet ﷺ, there were tons of places that he could have ran to. He ran home to Khadija because that's the place where he got the most peace. All right? And although he entered, when he ran into the home, what did he say? Cover me, cover me. That was an indication that he was what? He was scared. He was afraid. And what did Khadija do? She covered him. Covered him.
I got you right here.
Covered him. Does not Allah describe the woman as a covering for the husband, and he's a covering for her? Hunna libasu lakum wa antum libasu lahunna. She's a covering for you, and you are covering. No, this is real talk. And you are covering for them. Like, sisters, be a covering for your husband in the home. Be a covering. We complicate this thing so much, man. It's really not that complicated, man. It's not. It's not. Like, being in the home with each other should be like, you should want to kick your feet up on a Sunday and just chill out with, what I mean? Like, your wife should be your best friend. Your husband should be your best friend. There's no other person that I would rather spend my Saturday with. You know what I mean? My Sunday with. And sometimes we need to break out and, have a little time for ourselves, but we run right back to that place where we're going to get our peace. You might be around a bunch of brothers, and they toxic as hell. It's like, every time around y'all, all y'all talking about is marriage and polygyny, taking on another. Man, let me get away from you guys, man. I'm going home. I'm going home. You know what I mean? So sometimes, you have to be mindful of that. So the Prophet ﷺ, although he entered the home, in trepidation and fear, which he brought with him from the outside, right? It was met with what? It was met with what? It was met with what? Huh? I said the Prophet ﷺ, when he had that experience with Jibreel in the cave, he ran home, bringing with him energy from the outside that caused fear and trepidation. When he entered into the home, he was met with peace, comfort. That's how it should be. That's how our lives should be. All right. Thirdly, not to have anything in our homes that would obstruct, the energy in Ramadan. And one of the things that will obstruct the positive energy that we bring into the home is animosity and a lack of closure from previous arguments and fights. Bury the hatchet. Before Ramadan comes in, tell your spouse, your wife, your husband, whatever we argued about before Ramadan, let's bury the hatchet, man. Let's dead that. And let's not go into Ramadan with that. Be mindful that we don't even get into argument a week up to Ramadan, so that we gotta apologize for that. We are aware husband and wife should be on the same wavelength, should be on the same page, to understand that a week or two before Ramadan, Shaitan does his most damage. The shayateen do their most damage because they're trying to make us go into Ramadan with this is a distraction now. You can't enjoy Ramadan if you and your spouse got into an argument 3-4 days before Ramadan, and now you in Ramadan are Wallah Aladim. I counseled a couple years ago. First day in Ramadan, she's Sahur in her bedroom. He's Sahur in the kitchen. They broke fast in two different places. It's just like, how y'all in Ramadan with that energy? How? You guys couldn't just bury the hatchet at least until Ramadan was over, so that you can at least enjoy. Because with women, sometimes the conversation is never over. She might tell you, "All right, we'll bury the hatchet," but in the back of your mind after Ramadan, oh, remember that conversation? We need to come back to that. But try to bring closure. You know what I mean? To and be mindful of the animosity. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, "La tadkhulul malaika baytan fihi kalbun wala sura." The angels do not enter into homes where there are dogs and pictures, images. So be mindful of the things that we have in our homes that might be chasing away the positive energy. So if you got pictures, images, hanging up in your home, it probably would be better if you put those images into a photo album and close the photo album up. If you want to look at the images, cool. You want to look at the pictures, cool. It's in a photo album. But you should not have pictures of you, your wife, and your family, the kids, on vacation, and you just got this stuff hanging up around your home. You are cheating. If the malaika, if the angels are not frequenting your homes, then who is frequenting your homes? Absolutely. The Prophet ﷺ clearly said that the angels do not enter into homes wherein there are pictures, images, and dogs. So if you have a dog, and many Muslims have dogs now, it's become a phenomenon. For what reason, I have no idea. Nonetheless, as the Prophet ﷺ said, that we will follow the nations that came before us, handspan by handspan, arm lengths by arm lengths, that if they did something as whacked out and as strange as crawl into a lizard hole without even understanding, we would crawl into the lizard hole too. Because we derive our validation by way of what everybody else is doing. So, Muslims celebrating Christmas now and arguing about Thanksgiving. First of all, whether Thanksgiving is a religious holiday or not, that's not the issue. What does Thanksgiving represent? Obliteration of an entire nation, race of people. How are we okay with that? And I'm just going home to celebrate with my family. Whatever you tell yourself to make yourself sleep well at night. That's neither here nor there. I'm working on principle, ethic. I don't even want to throw ayah and hadith at you because I don't think most of us are ready for that. But just from a ethical and a principle perspective, like, why would you celebrate something that the root of it, the origin of it? I don't care what the commercialization of it has turned it into now. I'm talking about the root of it, the usul, the foundation of it, and why it started and what it represents. I think as Muslims, like we people of intellect, high functioning people, and yet we debase ourselves to the lowest of the low just to follow trends, and keep up with the status quo. And then if somehow you don't follow that, then you're extreme. So I'm extreme because I don't celebrate Christmas. I'm extreme because I don't celebrate Thanksgiving. I'm extreme because the only two celebrations I have in my life are Eid al-Adha and Eid al-Fitr. I'm extreme. And this speaks volumes to the ghurba, the strangeness of Islam that the Prophet ﷺ prophesied would come. He said Islam started off as something strange and alien, and it will return to being something strange and alien. So give glad tidings to the strangers. And if I'm strange, I'm weird, I'm extreme, whatever name you want to put on it, I'm okay with that. I can accept that. But I'm not going to keep up, follow something that's a trend because everybody else is doing it. And dogs, they carry najasa, right? Remember what Habiba said to her father, Abu Sufyan, you can't sit there because you're najis, you're impure. Dogs are impure in the same fashion, all right? The Prophet, they're impure physically, but as well as spiritually as well. Because if their saliva gets on your clothes, you have to wash that area before you can pray in it. As a matter of fact, the Prophet ﷺ said that if a dog licks one of your utensils, then you should wash it 7 times. The first time with dirt, You understand? That's to show you the level of impurity that is in their saliva. And then we have dogs, running around the house, saliva dripping from their mouth all over the floor, and then you're praying the same floor that you're praying on your couch. You know what I mean? Saliva. And I mean, we're talking about animals that lick their own behinds, lick their feet, and lick, and then licking you in your face. Like, I mean, to each his own. I'm just trying to show you why Islam makes this something that is prohibited. If you're gonna have a dog for whatever purposes, a guard dog, security dog, and I don't know that you can have a dog for recreational purposes, but usually dogs were used for the purposes of security, the purpose of seeing eye dog, if you blind or whatever the case may be, but for purposes, for reasons, not just because I like dogs. And you have Muslims. I was living in Riyadh, and wallah al-azim, you had Saudis who had dogs they brought back from America, and they riding around with dogs in their cars and stuff like that. Yeah, because we're never satisfied until we can be validated by the status quo. And many Muslims have adopted the traditions of non-Muslims of bringing dogs and pets into your home, failing to realize that they chase the angels away, which makes the home susceptible to being occupied by the jinn. Not to mention that some dogs are jinn. The Prophet ﷺ said, "Al-kalb al-aswad shaitan." The black dog, the all black dog, is shaitan, is a jinn itself. And images of things that have souls, paintings, pictures, are haram, which means that the angels don't enter places where there's haram taking place, like music, drugs, and other places. And the scholars they mention, Imam Nawawi rahimahullah ta'ala specifically, he said, الملائكة يطوفون بالرحمة والاستغفار أما الحفظة فيدخلون في كل بيت لا يفارقون بني آدم في كل حال لأنهم مأمورون بإحصاء أعمالهم كتابة أعمالهم. Imam Nawawi rahimahullah ta'ala said, الملائكة يطوفون بالرحمة والاستغفار. He said the angels, when they enter into your homes, they enter with forgiveness and mercy. That's what they travel with. They travel with mercy and forgiveness. He said, and these are the angels that can be chased away. He said the only angels that are not chased away are the hafadha, the angels that have been sent down to protect your life until it's your time to die, and the kataba, those who are responsible for writing down your deeds. They never leave you. They never leave you. But the angels that come with mercy and forgiveness, these are the angels that you chase away with dogs and images. So be mindful of the things that we have in drugs, music. If you're going to listen to music, do that outside your home. Do that outside your home, not in your home. Don't bring that stuff into your home. You have children that listen to music. Take that stuff outside. Don't bring that stuff in here. Period. Fourthly, our home should be enveloped by the remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This causes a softness of the hearts for those who are in the homes. It creates an atmosphere of mercy and compassion. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَتَطْمَئِنُّ قُلُوبُهُم بِذِكْرِ اللَّهِ أَلَا بِذِكْرِ اللَّهِ تَطْمَئِنُّ الْقُلُوبُ. Those who believe and whose hearts find tranquility with the remembrance of Allah. Isn't it with the remembrance of Allah that the hearts find tranquility? So if you are living in a home where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is constantly remembered, then that is something that will help to soften the heart. So if you're living in a home with somebody who seems like they hard spiritually, they're just harsh and hard-hearted, maybe the remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala needs to be, mentioned more time. It might be tonight. The next time you get up in the middle of the night to go use the bathroom, check your watch and see what time it is. Because it actually might be the last third of the night and you squandered the opportunity. You got up, used the bathroom, wash your hands, jump back in the bed, and I got an hour or two before Fajr. Meanwhile, you're letting an opportunity pass you by. This is the last third of the night where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala descends to the lowest heaven and he asks, is there anyone asking me for my forgiveness so I can forgive them? Is there anyone asking me for something so I can give them what they're asking for? Meanwhile, we snoring, sleeping, we're squandering an opportunity. Get up at night. If Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala returns your soul to you so you can get up and go use the bathroom, Allah returns your soul to you for a reason. Not to use the bathroom and go back to sleep. Pray 2 rak'ah. Pray 1 rak'ah. Witr. Raise your hand and beg Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for what you want, what you need. How is it that as human beings, we got all of these needs? I need this in my life. I need that in my life. And you look on social media, everybody's, barking about what they need in their lives. And I need the bag, and I need peace, and I need this, and I need, everything that you need is with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's your main resource. That's your source for all your khair. Allah says in the Quran, "Lahu mafatihul ghaybi la ya'lamuha illa hu." To him belong the keys of the unseen that none knows but him. The keys, the mafatih, the keys of the unseen, meaning all of the things that we need as human beings belongs to Rabbul Alameen, is in the care of the Lord of the worlds, meaning he's called Rabbul Alameen.